So the Arizona Coyotes are moving to Utah, but they're not moving to Utah because they're getting a new stadium, but that doesn't matter because they're still moving to Utah. Nobody knows what's going on here. All we know is Utah's going to be getting a team over the next couple years, so it's time to do an expansion draft with Utah. We're the Utah Silver Wolves. I'm going to win this team a handful of Stanley Cups. We have 10 years to rebuild them. Now we're going to be going through the expansion draft process here, and obviously we're not going to be getting a good team. Look at what's available here. Kevin Shattenkirk, Silverberg, McGinn. Yeah, this is definitely not it. However, we're going to work with what we have. Max Jones, you're going to be the first selection for this team. But you know what? We're going to move right over to the Boston Bruins because, of course, we already know who I'm going to be selecting for this team. Jeremy Swayman, you're the guy for us for the next decade. Now, I'm not going to show every single selection, but I will show the main ones. Of course, that Jeremy Swayman pickup being one of them. But outside of that, we're not going to be showing too many selections. But I will highlight selections such as this, like picking up Peyton Krebs from the Buffalo Sabres. Although he's only an 80 overall right now, he's 22 years old. He has tons of time to develop. He could be a nice addition to our team. Now, Dustin Wolf could be a nice addition to the team as well, but since we got Jeremy Swayman, I don't think we need two elite goaltenders. However, picking up Dustin Wolf because he would have a ton of trade value, then shipping him out in the offseason, I think that's going to be the move we make here. We're getting ourselves a really nice pickup from the Colorado Avalanche. Samuel Girard's going to be the selection here, an 85 overall defenseman. More than likely, he's going to be the best defenseman we see at the beginning of the rebuild. When it comes to the Dallas Stars, honestly, this is such an easy decision. We're going to have to give Max Domi an extension, but he's a stick on the ice legend. We already know what that man turns into, so having him on our team early on is definitely going to work out for us, especially if we can lock him down to a team-friendly contract. Now, with a guy like Forsling, let me explain how this is going to work. It says he has 2 years left on his contract, but that includes the current season. So once we get into the beginning of next season, he actually only has 1 year left on his deal. And since we're in the summer of 2023, he hasn't signed his massive extension yet, so we're going to have to lock him down long term. Another big pickup we're going to see here in the expansion draft is going to be Tyler Toffoli. Now, he's not going to be on this team long term, but he is going to be a good trade asset for us. Now, this is actually a pretty tough decision here with the Rangers. Keandre Miller would be a great pickup. Philip Hito would also be a great pickup, though. However, I haven't really had any good luck with developing Philip Hito, so I think I'm going to pass on him. Ryan Lindgren, that would be a nice pickup as well. Even Capo Caco, he still has that low elite potential. He might turn into a really good player, but I think we got to go with Keandre Miller. 86 overall, 23 years old. I'll take the risk on re-signing him. Now, with the Tampa Bay Lightning, I just can't pass up on Eric Chernak. A great defenseman like him is going to be hard to come by in this video, so if we can pick him up early, that's going to work long term for us. So we've reached the end of the expansion draft, and this is going to be our final selection. Nito Niederreiter, welcome to the team. I actually think we have a pretty solid team here. Like, are we going to be at the top of the league competing for Stanley Cups? I don't think so in year number 1, but you know what? I can't complain about guys like Jeremy Swayman, Peyton Krebs, Samuel Girard, Max Domi, Klim Kostin, Forsling. We have a ton of superstar talent here. Keandre Miller, Chernak, can't forget about you guys, but our superstar goaltender actually isn't Jeremy Swayman. It's Joel Holfer. We all know this. Now, we've got through the expansion draft, and we're getting ready for the normal draft here, but this is one thing I don't really understand. So we're in the year 2023 right now. So this draft is Connor Bedard, Leo Carlsson, Adam Fantilli. We all know this. And EA has rights to all of these guys. Like, they have rights to Connor Bedard, Leo Carlsson, Adam Fantilli. We all understand this, right? Explain to me why I can't draft Adam Fantilli and he's not available here. Like, Adam Fantilli's not here. There's a ton of players that aren't going to be available. If you played in college, you are not available here. If you played in certain leagues overseas, you're not going to be available here as well. So yeah, it's going to be a very watered down draft, and we're going to be missing a ton of players. With that being said, can we trade up to the first overall pick? Is that going to be possible? Like, we have a lot of valuable pieces on this team that we picked up, and some of them aren't going to be coming back next season. Brady Shea, you're a perfect example of a guy that's not going to be coming back. So the third overall and Brady Shea over to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Obviously, they're saying no to this. Why would they ever accept this? However, we have draft picks here that have value. So I'll give you our second rounder for this upcoming season, which is going to be the 36th overall. This package right here sent over to the Columbus Blue Jackets. That gets us the first overall pick, and that gets us Connor Bedard. So the third overall, the 36th, and Brady Shea is going to land us Connor Bedard. Connor Bedard is coming to the Utah Silver Wolves with the first overall pick. Now, when it comes to the rest of the draft here, more than likely, I'm just going to trade all of our picks away because our scouts did basically nothing, so we have no info on anyone here. I'm not going to take a bunch of risks here unless I know I can get what I want. So I'm going to send the 69th overall pick and the 201st overall over to the Carolina Hurricanes. We're going to be getting a future second rounder here. Our next trade is going to see us sending a 4th and 5th rounder over somewhere. Ideally, we just can pick up some more picks here. You know what? A deal like this actually isn't the end of the world. We get a 5th rounder, but we also get a depth center. And then to cap it all off here, a 6th rounders off to the Arizona Coyotes, and we're getting a future 5th. So although we do have to give a handful of guys extensions here, and a ton of guys are going to need extensions next season, we do have $30 million to work with, and ideally we lock some of these guys down long term. Keandre Miller, we're doing 8 years at $5.5 million. Not too much has to be considered into a deal like this. You're 23 years old, and we're going to lock you down long term. I'm actually going to do 5.7 just to make sure he joins the team. Max Domi, I'm hoping to do a cheap contract for the next couple years. That's exactly what we're doing. Here's 4.1 for the next 6. Alex Fermenton, this is also going to be another cheap deal, 1.9 for the next 3. Caleb Jones, I'm actually just going to qualify you as an RFA. You're looking for like $2.5 million. Don't necessarily want to do that. Clem Costin, we can definitely do 1.4 for the next 2 years. You're going to be a good bottom 6 piece. And then Gustav Lindstrom, can we lock you down long term as well? I think you're going to be a good defensive defenseman for us. So here's 1.8 million for the next 6. With all those deals given out, we've basically locked down everyone except for Jeremy Swayman. We got to give him a long-term deal. Obviously, we're going to be doing 8 years with Jeremy Swayman, and we're going to be doing that at 6.2 million. Now, it looks like everyone's going to be accepting their deals here except for Max Domi and Jeremy Swayman. So Max Domi, I'll just give you exactly what you want. Here's 4.65 for the next 6 years. And then Jeremy Swayman, I'll do almost exactly what you want. Here's 6.7 for the next 8. Now, ideally, those 2 extensions are going to keep both of these guys here long-term. We're set up great for the future. We have 10 years in front of us. I'm looking for at least 7 Stanley Cups. Before we get ready for next season, though, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we have a ton of extensions to give out. The next one's going to be going to Forsling here. We're going to be doing 8 years with him as well. If we can do sub $6 million, that would be ideal. Here's 5.9 for the next 8. Tyler Toffoli, as I mentioned, you're going to be a good trade piece here, and we're about to trade you away. You don't need a rider. We're just going to ride out your contract. Ryan Hartman, we're probably going to do the same with you because I think you're going to be asking for too much. I don't necessarily want to do 3.5 million, so we're probably going to let you walk. Matt Wall, we got a bunch of great defensemen here, but 3.8 million, I can't pass that up for the next 5 years. With Peyton Krebs, we're doing a bit of a riskier deal. It's going to be 2.4 for the next 5. And I think those are going to be the main extensions we're going to worry about right now. Now we got to make a splash here near number 1, but this is actually a pretty risky move. Tyler Toffoli and 2 5th round picks over to the Ottawa Senators. We're looking at picking up Drake Batherson here. Now I think he has some hidden value. 85 overall, top 6 potential. If he's playing alongside Connor Bedard, he's going to develop into like an 88 overall player. We just have to hope he has a decent enough line fit. On top of picking up Drake Batherson, we're also looking to get Shane Pinto for the bottom 6. As I said a couple times, this is a riskier move, but we make risky plays around here. Now we're not going to make a ton of moves here in year number 1. This is probably going to be the last because I don't want to screw this team up for the future. But Joseph Beauvillier in a second round is going to be sent over to the Winnipeg Jets. We're picking up Nikola Ehlers here. Now Ehlers is going to be great alongside Bedard. He's going to be a fantastic playmaker. I think our first line is basically going to be set for the next 3 years because we have a ton of really young players here. Everyone's going to be getting better, and we also have everyone locked down long term. So we've officially entered year number 1 here, and honestly, we actually have some really good line fits across the board here. Bedard alongside Ehlers and Drake Batherson, they're getting a +2 boost. Max Domi, Peyton Krebs, and Niederreiter are going to be getting a +2 as well. And then our third line, which is going to feature Ryan Hartman, Shane Pinto, and Cal Yarcrow, they're also going to be getting a +2 boost here. The fourth line might not have the greatest line fits in the world here, but hey, they're all 80 overalls. We can definitely work with that. The defense is going to be the one weak spot on this team because we have terrible line fits here. Samuel Jordan alongside Eric Chernak, Matt Wall alongside Keandre Miller, and then Forsling is going to be on that third pairing alongside Sean Walker. Ideally, we bring in a better coach next season that has better line fits, and then this defense will be set for the future. Meanwhile, when it comes to the goaltending situation, we're set there. Jeremy Swayman's definitely the guy over the next decade. Joel Hofer, ideally, we can keep you around for the next decade as well, being the backup here. You're probably going to develop into like an 82 overall. You're definitely going to be a good goaltender for this team as long as we can keep you around. So let's go ahead and simulate up to the trade deadline. Then we're going to make a couple moves accordingly. Honestly, I think we might be buyers at the trade deadline. Like, we're a really good team right now. We got some good line fits here. However, that defense is a bit questionable. And while it simulates, you already know the drill here. That's how many subscribers I have. I'm trying to hit 62,000 by the end of the month. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So I might as well mention this right now because I completely forgot to change it. But we're actually going to be in the Pacific Division here. Ignore the fact that the Utah Silverwolves are playing in the Pacific Division, and that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I forgot to change what division this team plays in, but that doesn't change anything. We're 16th in the entire league here with a 32-28-3 record. I was expecting us to be a bit better. The offense definitely was holding this team back though. 2.97, it's got to be way better than that. Defense though, not necessarily the worst. So Connor Bedard's having an incredible rookie season. He's already up to a 90 overall. We already knew this was going to happen. Ehlers on the other hand, massive disappointment. Only 55 points here, and you're -4. You should be doing a lot better than this. Drake Batherson, only 44 points. I was expecting more from you. Honestly, I was expecting more from this entire team. We are not looking good. The goaltending situation for Jeremy Swayman, 26 wins here, 3 shots, a 905 and a 306. I think we got to be sellers at the trade deadline here. here. We're not winning a Stanley Cup this season. We just got to make sure we're in a good position for next season. So we got to make some moves that are going to make sense for our team, and we're not picking up a ton of old players. So Nito Niederreiter, I'm going to be including you in this upcoming package, but it's going to be a big one for us. It's going to be you, Romanov, a second and third rounder over to the Florida Panthers. We're going to be picking up Carter Verhaeghe. Now, Verhaeghe unfortunately doesn't have a great fit on the top 6 here, but we're going to be bringing in a new coach, and that's going to change. He's going to be playing on the top line alongside Ehlers and Connor Bedard. That's going to be a fantastic line. So Carter Verhaeghe, welcome to the team. Unfortunately, they're saying no to this, which is a big surprise, but a 7th rounder is going to make the difference. As we know, the 7th rounder is the most lucrative draft pick in NHL 24, and just like that, we acquired Carter Verhaeghe. Yeah, so you remember how our scouting department said, oh, Carter Verhaeghe's going to fit on the 4th line? I don't know what those boys were cooking. He almost has a perfect fit on the 1st line, so Carter Verhaeghe, Connor Bedard, and Ehlers are going to be holding it down for the near future. Alright, so we were the furthest thing from hot to finish out the season here. I have no clue how we're making the playoffs, because yes, we are making the playoffs here, 19th in the entire league, but don't worry, we're above the Edmonton Oilers. That's right, Connor McDavid's Edmonton Oilers are finishing 20th in the entire league, making the postseason, and so are we with a 37, 33, and 12 record. There is no reason we should have made the playoffs. But it's very clear what the weaknesses on this team were. Anything outside of our top 3 guys. Drake Batherson, I mean, not bad season from you, 55 points, but I am expecting a bit more, especially if you're playing top 6 minutes. This team in general is just a big disappointment this season. We're not going to spend too much time talking about it. Jeremy Swayman, okay numbers, 29 wins. Didn't you have 26 at the trade deadline? So you picked up 3 wins after the trade deadline. Okay, these numbers are awful. But you know what? We're going to blame our coach. He wasn't a good coach. We're bringing a better one in during the offseason. We're moving on to the playoffs here. We got the Vegas Golden Knights in the 1st round. They would be the 3rd newest expansion franchise, of course, if you're including the Utah Silverwolves and the Seattle Kraken. So we got a battle of the new franchises. However, Vegas already has one Stanley Cup, so they got that postseason experience that we don't have. But who cares about postseason experience when you're competing with the best in the entire league? We've been exchanging games here. Game 5 is a massive one, but we're going to be dropping that one 3-2. So we got to respond in Game 6 to stay alive here, and that's exactly what's happening. Game 7 against the Vegas Golden Knights in our first postseason appearance. I didn't see that one coming. So a win over the Vegas Golden Knights would be massive here. We have a 3-win lead entering the 3rd period. We're a wild card team. We got to remember that, and it looks like we're going to be showing out here. 5 goals in Game 7, and we're off to the 2nd round. We just upset one of the best teams in the entire league. So after that win over the Vegas Golden Knights, I guess the question that has to be asked, are the Utah Silverwolves actually legit here, and are we going to go on some miracle run? We have the Calgary Flames up next. Vegas was definitely a better team than Calgary, but you know what? If Calgary's in the postseason, they're going to be putting up a solid fight. Similar to the series against the Vegas Golden Knights, we're exchanging games here, and Game 5 is going to mean someone's taking the lead in this series. It looks like that's going to be the Calgary Flames. Can we respond in Game 6 once again and force a Game 7? And it looks like it's going to be the exact same story as the Vegas Golden Knights series. We're off to Game 7 once again. Now, can the big-time players make some big-time plays once again? We're entering this game. It looks like the Calgary Flames is going to be picking up the first goal of the game. The 2nd period is going to be a scoreless one. The 3rd period is going to be deciding this game. And it looks like the Calgary Flames are going to be shutting us out here. Jonathan Huberdeau is going to be picking up an insurance goal early in the 3rd period, and that's going to be more than enough. Calgary's taking us down 2-0. But considering where this team was at the trade deadline and how we looked after the trade deadline, I'll take a 2nd round exit for year number 1. We're just building the foundation here. It's probably going to take us 2 to 3 years before we really turn it around, but the league better watch out because the Utah Silverwolves are coming. Also, shout out to the Colorado Avalanche, they're Stanley Cup champs. Alright, so it's pretty clear why we didn't beat the Calgary Flames in the 2nd round. Connor Bedard had 11 points in 14 games. Absolutely unacceptable from our franchise star here. 89 overall. I don't know how he dropped 1 overall. We're not going to worry about it. But as long as he's above a point a game, we're going to be competing in the postseason here. Meanwhile, Jeremy Swayman's numbers, 7 wins here. A 919 and 275 really aren't that bad. They're not good by any means, but they certainly could be worse. Now, we got some great news coming from the draft here because with the 52nd overall, we're going to be securing a medium elite potential player. He's a 51 overall. But more importantly, look who's being selected with the next pick. Caden Lidstrom, top 9 potential. Yeah, so that guy that we normally draft in the top 5, he was selected 53rd overall and only has top 9 potential. So things are a bit different in this universe. So we're making one pickup at the draft here, and that's going to be a 3rd rounder from the Arizona Coyotes. So when it comes to the re-sign phase, a lot of the guys that we picked up in the expansion draft are going to be walking here. We don't really need to bring them back. A majority of them didn't even play in the lineup. The only notable loss we're going to have here is Ryan Hartman, as he's improved to an 86 overall. However, with Caleb Jones, we'll qualify him as an RFA and then trade him away. Now we got some big time extensions to give out, and the first is going to be starting with Ehlers. We're going to be giving him 8.6 for the next 6 seasons. When it comes to Carter Verhaeghe's deal, this is going to be an absolute steal, 6.6 for the next 8. And then Shane Pinto, I would like to lock you down long term, and it looks like that's what we're going to be doing. It's going to be 2.2 for the next 8, and you're going to develop into a great 3rd line centerman for us. Now we can make a big risk here, and I'm not really too sure if it's going to be worth it. our first round pick for this season and Max Domi over to the Arizona Coyotes. Now we could pick up a guy like Dylan Guenther, and Dylan Guenther would be great for this team, but are we immediately going to be able to compete for a Stanley Cup? This pick right now has a ton of trade value, and it makes sense to trade it earlier on, because by the time we get to the end of the season and we're top 5 in the entire league, that pick's not going to have too much value. So do I ship it out with Max Domi over to the Arizona Coyotes now and get Dylan Guenther for the future? I think that's the move. So I'm offering this package over to the Arizona Coyotes. They're saying we're a bit off in trade value here, so I guess the 6th or 7th rounder will make the difference. Here's a 2025 7th round pick. I'm going to ship that over. We're getting this deal done. Now we just have to pray that we're really good this season. Now with all the moves we have made, we can bring in some guys on 1-year deals, and one of them is going to be Tom Wilson. I'm going to do $7 million for this upcoming season. We got $20 million to work with. We might as well spend some of it. Meanwhile, Verana, we can bring you in for the bottom 6 here. I'll give you $5 million for this upcoming season. Those are probably going to be the only 2 signings we do here. We got a great defensive core. We've brought in a new coach. I think this team's going to see a lot of success. Now, I fully believe this team's going to see a lot more success this season. Connor Bedard's up to a 91, Carter Verhaeghe's an 87, and Ehlers is an 87 as well. They're getting a +5 boost for line chemistry, but more importantly, we're also going to have all these guys long term. I mean, Connor Bedard is going to need an extension next season, but we're not too worried about that. He's going to be sticking around on this team, no question about it. The second line is showing a lot of potential. Peyton Krebs and Dylan Guenther both having decent enough line fits. Tom Wilson's also going to be playing here, getting a +2 boost, while the bottom 6 is looking real good here, nothing to complain about here. Defensively, this is where we can celebrate though. Much better line fits here. Samuel Girard and Chernak are going to be getting a +3 boost. Matt Waugh and Keandre Miller, they're not losing any overalls, but they do have way better line fits. Same with Forsling and Peak. This team's looking to exceed expectations this season. And to cap it all off, Jeremy Swayman, we already know what he does. 86 overall with high starter potential. I would like to see him turn into an 88 overall. I don't think that's going to happen in this rebuild, but you know what? We can still rely on Jeremy Swayman. He's the guy. So as long as this team plays up to expectations, we're definitely going to be buyers at the trade deadline. We're looking to do some big things here, potentially be a 40-win team by the trade deadline. So the Utah Silverwolves are at the top of the league in just season number 2. It's amazing what a good coach can do. A 39-18-6 record at the trade deadline. Our offense is absolutely flying here while we have the best defense in the entire league. Basically, the only change we made is a new coach. That's how much of a difference it makes. Connor Bedard, an incredible season here. He's got 65 points. Ehlers 64. Verhaeghe's got 57. Dylan Guenther, what a great pickup that was. 50 points already. This entire team is just looking great. No questions about it. While Jeremy Swayman, 32 wins, 2 shots, a 918 to 249. We might be hoisting a Stanley Cup sooner than I thought. And of course, with the way this team's looking, we got to bring some players onto this team. Who are those players going to be? I'm not too sure yet. But Rasmus Andersson, that would be a very interesting pickup. We would have him for the next 2 seasons. That could be the move. Alright, so you have to hear me out with a deal like this. I don't really think that this prospect right here is going to turn into anything. He's got medium league potential, a 57 overall at 20 years old. By the time he's ready to jump into the NHL, he's going to be like an 80 overall at 24 years old. That doesn't really give him too much time to develop. So I think at best, he's going to turn into a top 6 potential player. So we're going to trade these 2 prospects over to the Calgary Flames, and we're going to pick up Rasmus Andersson for the next 2 seasons. Unfortunately, they're saying no to a deal like this, but we do have a 3rd round pick from the Detroit Red Wings, and I think that will be enough to get this deal done. They're still going to be saying no here, but a 7th round is going to make the difference. So here's a 7th rounder for the year 2026. Rasmus Andersson, you're going to be a big time defenseman for us, and you're going to help us win a Stanley Cup in year 2. So through acquiring Rasmus Andersson, this is what the defensive pairings are going to look like. It's going to be Chernak and Keandre Miller on the first pairing, and then Samuel Girard and Rasmus Andersson on the second. Now the reason we're bringing Samuel Girard down is if he plays in the first pairing, they get a +3 boost, but I think I'd rather have a +2 boost on the top pairing and then a +1 on the second. At the end of the day, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, so I actually think we're just going to run this, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like Samuel Girard and Eric Chernak, they're looking absolutely fantastic so far, so why would I screw that up? So the Utah Silverwolves in just season number 2 are a 54-win team with the best offense in the entire league, and I believe the best defense. It only took us 2 years to get to this point, and now we're ready to hoist multiple Stanley Cups. The entire core is going to be around for a long time, and Connor Bedard, you're going to be the main piece of that core. 100 points in year number 2, including 44 goals. Meanwhile, Ehlers, you're supposed to be the main playmaker here, but you're picking up 47 goals. Won't complain about that. Carter Verhaeghe, an 88-point season. Dylan Guenther, he's picking up 71 points. And to cap off this fantastic season, we're looking at Jeremy Swayman's amazing numbers. 44 wins, 4 shouts, and 917 to 255. It's time to get revenge in the playoffs. This team ended up falling in the 2nd round last season to the Calgary Flames, but it doesn't look like we need to worry about the Calgary Flames, and we don't need to worry about the Vegas Golden Knights. Neither of those teams are making the playoffs, but the Silverwolves are, and they're ready to do some damage. So after winning the first 2 games, things have not been looking good for the Silverwolves, dropping back-to-back here. Ideally, we're not losing 3 straight games here. Thankfully, that's not going to be happening. Can we close the series out in 6 games and move on to the 2nd round? A big 7-3 victory is going to be saying yes to that. After finishing below us in the standings last season, Edmonton's looking to do big things this season, It's going to be the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Silverwolves. The 19th overall team and the 20th overall team from last season are going to be matching up in the second round. And to make this a more entertaining matchup, both of these teams won 50 games last season, so two of the best are matching up early. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't look like the Edmonton Oilers can compete with us. We did have a 3-1 series lead, but we dropped game 5, but that's fine because we're just going to win game 6 here. Or we're going to blow a 3-1 series lead. And let me tell you right now, we're not blowing a 3-1 series lead, so we better show up here. We're going to be picking up 3 goals in the first period. I think that should be enough, but Edmonton is making a comeback here, so the third period will be deciding this one, and it looks like it's going to be Utah coming out on top. We're picking up another 2 goals. So we've moved on to the conference finals here after a game 7 win, and now we have the Nashville Predators to take on. Nashville was able to take down the Colorado Avalanche in the second round, so we better be prepared. I don't care what their record is. If you're beating Colorado, you're a legit team. But we didn't score any goals in the first 2 games. We got shut out in both of them, but we're going to be lighting the lamp in game 3 and game 4, so we've tied this series up. We better keep on lighting the lamp here. Can we close this series out in game 6 and make it to the Stanley Cup final in just our second season? It looks like we're going to need game 7 for this one. Now, Nashville is a legit team because they beat the Colorado Avalanche. However, their record says something else here. We're picking up 3 unanswered. Can we close this series out and make it to the Stanley Cup final? Okay, the one thing I have to mention about the Nashville Predators, that team won 36 games during the regular season. We're not losing to a 36-win team. Colorado, I have no clue how you did that. But yeah, we've reached the Stanley Cup final. Connor Bedard's been absolutely incredible so far. All I need are 7 more good games. And it looks like the next 7 games are coming against the Boston Bruins. We don't need to win 7 of them. We just got to win 4. Alright, so that happened. Connor Bedard here, your numbers. You had 30 points here in 24 games. Ehlers here, yours. Verhaeghe 21. Tom Wilson 17. Yeah, that just happened. Jeremy Swayman, we're not going to talk about it. Let's move on to the draft. So things are just going to go from bad to worse here. After getting swept in the Stanley Cup final, we're not getting any good prospects in the draft. So during the re-sign phase, we're not bringing any major players back other than Joel Hofer and Dustin Wolf. The rest of these guys are going to be walking. And the main reason we have to be careful with our money, this guy wants an extension right here. Connor Bedard, and yeah, he's going to want a bag, and honestly, he deserves it. 9.5 for the next 8 years. That's going to leave us with only $7 million to work with. But you know what? $7 million might be enough. Rasmus Andersson, we got to have a discussion here. I think you could return to this team on a reasonable deal. We're going to do 6.7 for the next 5 years. And you know what? We're actually going to be making another change to our defensive core because Forsling, I'm going to be completely honest, we're paying you $5.9 million to be a third pairing defense for us. We can get a cheaper option. And I think this is probably going to be the deal we do with Forsling here. I mean, $5.9 million is still a really good contract for him, so I really have to think about a deal like this. But then again, he is a third pairing guy for us. This is really just a tough decision to make, but I think we are going to ship him over to the Philadelphia Flyers. We're going to pick up Sean Lawton for this season, and we're also going to get 2 third-round picks in the deal. Philly's getting a steal here, but we already knew that. But the main reason we're doing that deal is to save money. We're bringing in Schneider here. I think 1 third-round pick might be enough. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to take 2 here, but 2 third-round picks for Brendan Schneider isn't a bad deal. Is it Brendan Schneider or Braden Schneider? I think it's Braden. Yeah, Braden Schneider, welcome to the team. Why did I think your name was Brendan? I have no clue. And then we're going to give Schneider a 2-year extension here at $2.1 million. So we're basically going to be freeing up about $3 million in a deal like this. The moves are going to continue here because Cal Yarkrow is not going to be returning to the team. So I'm going to trade him along with a 7th and 6th rounder over to the Montreal Canadiens. We're picking up Sean Farrell. He's a good young player, 23 years old and 80 overall, but more importantly, he's a playmaker for the bottom 6 here, and that's why we're acquiring him. And to cap off all the offseason moves, we're making 2 signings. The first is going to Riley Smith. We're giving him $5 million. And then Tom Wilson, we're going to be bringing you back for 1 more season here. We're going to be doing 6.4 for this upcoming year. So this team right here made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final. We're not going to talk about what happened there, but we did make it to the Stanley Cup final and we were looking great. We made 1 major change over the offseason. That was trading Forsling. But you know what? That's fine. We brought in Schneider and the scouts told us that he had a great line fit. I think you know where I'm getting with this. This man does not fit on the third pairing whatsoever. The scouts told me, oh yeah, perfect fit on the third pairing, he's good to go. Those boys do not know what they are talking about. Our top 2 pairings here are looking absolutely fantastic. We're going to do Samuel Girard and Chernak, Rasmus Andersson, Keandre Miller. Yeah, we don't have the greatest line fit here, but you know what? We're going to find a way to make it work. On top of that, we still have Jeremy Swayman, 88 overall, medium starter potential. He's got X factors now. We all know this man should have elite potential, but we're not going to worry about it. He's going to be able to carry the way here. 84 overall, Dustin Wolf back backing him up, this team's destined for success. So this is what the plan is. We're going to simulate up to the trade deadline. We're going to be first in the entire league, and then we're going to trade for a defenseman that fits on our first pairing. And the reason we trade for a defenseman that fits on the first pairing, that means he's guaranteed to fit on the third. So the boys are rolling right now. We're a 40-win team at the trade deadline, 42-16-6, ahead of the Boston Bruins. Just wanted to point that out. Although Boston's offense is better than us, we got a better defense than that team, and that's what makes the difference once the postseason comes around. Or that's what I'm going to tell myself. Bedard had a great season so far. He got 74 points here at the trade deadline. Ehlers 71, Verhaeghe 71 as well. Dylan Gunther 57 points here, 26 goals. The team's looking good in general. And to cap it all off, Jeremy Swayman, I would like some better numbers from you. A 909 to 285 isn't bad, but it certainly can be better. However, there is one thing that upsets me. Look at Max Domi's trade value. If we just waited 2 more seasons, we probably could have brought in a top 30 player for him. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening, and we are going to have to make one move here. What's that move going to be? I'm not too sure, because the team is looking fantastic right now. We don't want to mess anything up here. Do we make a move, or do we just ride it out for this season? All right, so I think this is the lone move we're going to make here. We're going to trade Riley Smith, although he's having a pretty decent year here, 16 goals, 27 assists. I feel like Owen Tippett would be even better. However, the only question we have with Owen Tippett is he going to be able to fit on the third line? It's going to be a bit of a risk, but you know what? I'm willing to take that risk. So Riley Smith and the third rounders off to Philly. Now, part of the reason we trade Riley Smith away is we actually need to free up cap space in order to make a deal like this, as we're bringing in Michael Matheson from the Montreal Canadiens. Now, ideally with Michael Matheson, he's going to have a good fit on that third pairing. Okay, that did not work out for us. So do I just go ahead and flip him for another left defenseman that hopefully fits? We might do that. Supposedly, Martin Fehervary can fit on all defensive pairings, so we're going to be acquiring him, a good defensive defenseman. He's going to play some third pairing minutes for us. Unfortunately, this deal's not enough. A 6th rounder will make the difference or something. We don't have to add too much more. So here's a 6th rounder for the year 2027, and we got this deal done. I'm very surprised they're saying no to a deal like this. This should be more than enough. Here's a 5th rounder as well. Look at the trade values. We're getting absolutely screwed here. What are you talking about? We're not close in value. So let's try something like this. A prospect and a 3rd rounder from the New York Islanders. Now here is said prospect and a 3rd round pick. Is that going to be enough? We probably could have got Fehervary for just the prospect. This game sometimes. You're telling me Michael Matheson, a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th round pick wasn't enough, but when I trade Michael Matheson over to the Islanders, get a prospect and a 3rd round pick, and then I ship that over to you, then we can get the deal done. Also, Sam Bennett, you're off to Washington. Calgary, you're getting 2 second-round picks. So it looks like going through that entire hassle for Martin Fehervary is actually going to pay off for us because he has a really good fit here on the third pairing. So you know what? It was worth it in the end. Now, it's a career season for the Utah Silver Wolves, first in the entire league with a 56-17-9 record, 4 goals per game while only allowing 2.79. This team's here to compete, and we're here to win Stanley Cups. Now, just look at us compared to the rest of the league here. Boston, they can't compete with us. When it comes to defense, it looks like only the Florida Panthers can compete with us. They actually have a really good defense as well. We're tied with them, but you know what? We know how to score goals, and that's what they can't do. The big time players are going to be making big time plays on this team. Connor Bedard 101 points, including 41 goals. Ehlers is picking up 44 goals once again with 100 points. While Verhaeghe a 98 point season, I'm never going to complain about that. The goaltending numbers from Jeremy Swayman, absolutely spectacular. 41 wins, 3 shots, and 913 to 268. I just need these numbers in the postseason from you. We made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final and fell to your former team. That's not happening again. We're going to warm up against the San Jose Sharks here, and then we're going to go 16-0. So the San Jose Sharks are a 38 win team, by the way. Currently down 3-1 in the series. That's a massive win right there. We should have all the momentum in this series, and we're going to win 3 straight here. Another win in Game 6. We're off to Game 7. Now, but real talk, the San Jose Sharks should not be putting up this much of a fight right now. It's a 1-goal game entering the 3rd period. Are we going to be choking this one away? We actually might be. We allowed 4 straight goals. Erik Karlsson, he's back on the Sharks. When it comes down to overtime, we're going to be showing up. Matt Waugh, out of all players, is scoring the OT winner here. We're surviving this one, making a 3-1 series comeback. So the San Jose Sharks took us to 7 games after winning only 38 games. The Edmonton Oilers were matching up against in the 2nd round. They won 42 games. So based on that math right there, we're going to be eliminated in the 2nd round. But as we know, stick on the ice math is a bunch of nonsense. We're sweeping the Edmonton Oilers, and we're off to the conference finals once again. So the 2 teams matching up in the Western Conference Finals swept their 2nd round opponent. We got the Colorado Avalanche taking down the Minnesota Wild in a sweep. The Utah Silver Wolves taking down the Edmonton Oilers in a sweep. Now these 2 teams are matching up against each other. And the win streak is going to continue for the Silver Wolves. 12-3 heading into the Stanley Cup final. And it looks like we're going to be taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. We've won 9 straight games. That's actually a lie because we won 3 straight here after being down 3-1 in the series. We've won 11 straight games. Nobody can stop us right now. So here we go. Game 7 for the Stanley Cup. The Utah Silverwolves taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. It looks like we're going to be picking up the first goal of the game. Of course, that's going to be Connor Bedard. But Tampa's going to be responding with 2 of their own here. Sean Lawton, he's going to be picking up another one for us. The third period is going to decide this one. Are we going to be Stanley Cup champions? Wow, that is a tough way to go out. Did we allow 5 unanswered? Yes, we did. 5 unanswered to lose Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Ain't no way. Like, seriously, that's back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals we've lost here, and we should have won both times. We got swept to the Boston Bruins. Don't really want to talk about that one, but then we lose in Game 7 here. Jeremy Swayman, the numbers were great once again. We just need to step up when it matters most. Game 7, Stanley Cup Final. We have to win the games that matter. We have not been doing that these past couple years. So this draft right here is so incredibly cooked. We're just trading for prospects. The 32nd overall is going to be shipped over to the Winnipeg Jets. I really want to pick up that prospect they just drafted. I think he's a 79 overall to begin his career. He might have an X factor, 1 X factor. So 79 overall, 1 X factor. He'll be on the team for the next 3 seasons for sure. Probably going to keep him long term. The Vancouver Canucks also got a really good prospect, 78 overall O'Sullivan. He's a defensive defenseman. And ideally over the next season or 2, he can replace Faravari because I don't see that guy being on the team long term for us. Now this team's in a tough spot right now. Sean Farrell, I picked you up for some bottom 6 minutes, but you progressed into an 85 and now you want $5 million. We can't do that for a bottom 6 guy. Owen Tippett, you actually progressed a little bit as well. You're up to an 85 overall. I don't think we're going to be able to afford you as well. So out of all the guys here, we're just going to qualify some RFAs, and unless you're an RFA, you're not going to be returning to this team. Unless you're a rookie. I'll sign you if you're a rookie. But everyone on this list here that I haven't given a contract to or is an RFA is going to be walking. Now when it comes to signing team-friendly deals, we're not going to be getting that. Simon Girard, he's looking for $11 million for the next 4 years. We can't do that right now. I'm going to wait till the season begins, maybe even till January, because I want to lock him down to a long-term deal. I'm hoping for an 8x8. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's what I'm hoping for. Drake Batherson, you're up to an 86 overall and you want $7.7 million. It's just not happening. So this player from the St. Louis Blues is slowly becoming a stick on the ice legend here. Zachary Bolduc, we're going to be picking you up to play some bottom 6 minutes here. Sean Farrell, we're not going to be able to afford you. Bro wants $5 million to be a third pairing guy. That just can't happen. I'm also going to pick up some picks in this deal. It's going to be Zachary Bolduc, a 4th and a 5th rounder that we're acquiring. Okay, we're not getting both of those picks here. Ideally, we can get a 5th rounder though. Zachary Bolduc and a 5th rounder. Welcome to the team. And then the next player we're going to pick up for the bottom 6 here is going to be Coolidge. I'm going to be sending over the 5th rounder we got from the St. Louis Blues as well as one of our 3rd rounders. But unfortunately, that's not going to be enough. Here's another 5th rounder as well. This is going to be more than enough to get this package done. Is it really going to cost more than 2 5ths and a 3rd? I mean, to be fair, we're not really offering them anything really valuable. So even a package like this, we're not really having to give up too much. Now, more than likely, this is going to be the final move. Alex Fermenton and a 7th rounder over to the Philadelphia Flyers for Bobby Brink. I said that's more than likely the final move. It definitely won't be. Now, the reason I said that's not going to be the final move is I did see Jack Roslovic available in free agency, and for $4.2 million, that's a pretty solid contract for an 84 overall. Alright, it's time for us to get serious. Bedard, Verhaeghe, Ehlers lead us to a Stanley Cup. We're getting a +1 boost on the 2nd line and a +2 boost on the 3rd and 4th line. Our lowest overall being an 81 Klim Kostin. We should be able to win a Stanley Cup here. The defense is absolutely spectacular. We're actually going to do something like this. You know what? It really doesn't matter what we do here. We're going to make it all the way to the Stanley Cup final, and then this team's going to find a way to choke. Jeremy Swayman and Dustin Wolf are both 87 overalls. We're running a goaltending tandem that has 2 87 overalls. We should win 65 games. This team should be unstoppable, but we're going to find a way to choke when it matters most. We're going to win a lot of regular season games, but in the postseason, that's when we'll fold. So we're not first in the entire league, and we're not second in the entire league. We are actually 3rd in the entire league here with a 41-16-6 record. We're making one move here at the deadline. Drake Batherson, your time's up here. We're finding a replacement for the 2nd line. I don't care if you're having a fantastic season. I just feel like you have to go. Ehlers 80 points, Connor Bedard 78, Verhaeghe 66, Dylan Guenther 61, Drake Batherson 59 points, Peyton Krebs 45. I still believe in Peyton Krebs. We also have him on a very reasonable contract. That's partially why I believe in him. And I actually take it back. I don't even want to trade Drake Batherson because he's doing perfectly fine here. 59 points, +20. The entire team's looking fantastic. If anything, I'll just screw it up by trading him away. Jeremy Swayman, 24 wins here, 2 shots, a 908 and a 285. Dustin Wolf, he's having a great season as well. What's it going to take for this team to get over the top? So after looking at what's available in free agency, I don't think there's any pickups we can do here that's actually going to make our team better. We've made to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row. Clearly, this team can win games, and we can win games up until the Stanley Cup final. That's where things usually fall apart for us. And this is exactly why I waited on a Samuel Girard extension. We're going to going to be getting him a lot cheaper here. It's still going to cost us a pretty penny, but you know what? We got the guy we need. Samuel Girard, $10.3 million for the next 8 years. And then when it comes to Drake Batherson, I'm assuming he still wants a bag. Yeah, Drake Batherson, we can't afford both of you guys. So Samuel Girard, we're going to keep you on this team, and Drake Batherson, you're going to be walking. However, we can't sign some of these guys for the bottom 6. Zachary Bolduc, I do want to give you a decent deal here. We're going to do 2.2 for the next 2. Kulich, you're playing some good third line minutes as well, so I wouldn't mind keeping you long term. We're going to do 1.8 for the next 2 with you. And then Bobby Brink, we're going to hold off with you because I want to make sure that we can bring back these 3 guys. So I can't even celebrate us being first in the entire league because we've been here before. We got to win when it matters most. I've said it a million times so far this season. Connor Bedard, a great year from you, 102 points. Ehlers 101, Verhaeghe 85. Good thing I held on to Drake Batherson. He's a point of game guy here. Bobby Brink, you were -2. What are you even doing here? Jeremy Swayman, 29 wins, 2 shots, and 907 and 288. Dustin Wolf, are you the starter for us now? I actually don't care which one of you guys is in between the pipes, but whoever is in net for us, you better win us the Stanley Cup. We have made the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row. We got swept in the first one. We lost in Game 7 of the second. Whatever you do, do not lose in the Stanley Cup final. And when I say don't lose in the Stanley Cup final, that also means don't lose in the conference finals, second round, or first round, because I know for a fact if I didn't specify that, you guys would have lost in the first round of Nashville. What are we really doing here? We split the series with Nashville. Thankfully, we're going to be winning Game 5. Let's close this series out in 6 games. I don't want to go to Game 7. You really never know what version of the Silver Wolves you're going to be getting. We show flashes of brilliance where we absolutely dominate the league and nobody can compete with us. And then the other half of the time, we just absolutely suck and any team can beat us on any given night. We just need to get hot for the next 12 games in a row, win 12 straight, and then we'll be Stanley Cup champions. It's really not that difficult. Like, this is exactly what I mean. 5 goals allowed here, 6 goals allowed here. Even a game like this, allowing 5 goals, we were lucky to win that one. What's Game 5 going to be looking like? Allowing 5 goals once again. Does this team know how to play defense? We clearly do in the regular season, but in the postseason, no, this team forgets how to play hockey. Now, I just want to know who was in between the pipes for us. Was it Jeremy Swayman or was it Dustin Wolf? Connor Bedard, 14 points here. Dylan Guenther, 12, and he had 10 goals. Yeah, it definitely wasn't the offense's fault here. It came down to the defense and goaltending. Dustin Wolf, I'm trading you. Yep, you're gone during the offseason. So when it comes to the draft, we're just going to do basically the exact same thing as last season. We're going to trade picks away for prospects here. The Washington Capitals selected this great forward, 78 overall at 18 years old. He's got top 6 potential, but more importantly, he's a playmaker for the bottom 6, and that's actually what we're looking for here. So the 29th is going to be shipped over, and we're also getting a future 4th round pick in this deal. We're also going to be taking a bit of a flyer on a guy like this, 18 years old, a 66 overall, but he has low elite potential. He might be able to develop into a bottom 6 piece for us, and that's actually what we're hoping here. We're going to get a 3rd rounder as well in this deal. We're giving up quite a bit, a 2nd rounder and a 4th, but we're getting exactly what we want here, and we're setting ourselves up for the future. So when it comes to the re-signed phase, I wouldn't mind bringing Klim Kostin back here, so I'm going to give him 1.65 for the next 3 years. Other than that, we're qualifying Bobby Brink as an RFA, and we're qualifying Dustin Wolf, except Dustin Wolf, I'm trading you immediately. The second I'm allowed to trade you, you're getting shipped out. Now, we don't have a ton of cap space to work with, so bringing in a replacement for Drake Batherson is going to be a bit difficult, but Lecker Mackey, we're going to bring you in here to play on the bottom 6. You're going to be a decent enough sniper for us. You're Bobby Brink's replacement, because that man just did not perform with this team, but he also didn't have great line fits. So what we're going to do is send Dustin Wolf over to the Seattle Kraken. We're going to try to pick up a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round pick for next season. They're going to be saying no, I'll take the 4th rounder out. I feel like we're really close in a deal like this, so maybe a 7th rounder for 2029 will be enough to get this one done. So we're going to ship this package over to Seattle. They're going to be saying yes here, and now it's time to make a deal with the Rangers. So if I give you our 1st round pick for this season and our 2nd round pick for next season, can we get Capo Caco? They're saying we're a bit low here, so we're going to get this deal done. Here's a 6th rounder from the Utah Silver Wolves, and just like that, Capo Caco's been added to the team. So not too much is happening here with the team. We're basically running back the same guys. Capo Caco, he is going to be a nice addition to the 2nd line here, and Dylan Guenther, he got a ton of X factors. He's now got 5. He's up to an 89 overall. He's going to hit that elite potential. We just need these guys to perform when it matters most. I've said this a million times in the video so far, and I'm going to try to stop saying it, but this team has to win. We've made it to 2 Stanley Cup finals so far in 4 years, and we're not going to talk about what's happened in both of those, because yeah, it's definitely not ideal. Jeremy Swayman, 86 overall. Dustin Wolf's off the team. Joel Hover's going to be the backup from here on out. We've seen Jeremy Swayman perform in the postseason, so we know he's able to do it. However, when it comes down to that Stanley Cup final, I'm yet to see anyone on this team step step up. So I'm fully expecting our team to be a lot better during the regular season, but the playoffs are when it matters, so we probably will make one addition at the trade deadline. Now, our record doesn't explain how good of a team we are, because we were absolutely abysmal through the first like 40 games of the season. We had a 20-15-3 record at one point, but now we have a 40-19-4. So yeah, we've been pretty good since then, scoring almost 4 goals per game while having a defense that's only allowing 2.92. However, look at Boston's defense. We definitely have to be better. When it comes to the top guys on this team, obviously they're performing. Verhaeghe, Connor Bedard, Ehlers, but Dylan Guenther and Capo Caco, I am expecting more. +2 from Dylan Guenther, +9 from Capo Caco. Meanwhile, Peyton Krebs only 43 points. I was expecting you to be a key piece for this team, and you haven't lived up to the hype. When it comes to Jeremy Swayman's numbers, I have no issues with them. 33 wins, 4 shots, and 907 and 281, but we certainly do have to make one change. Now, where is that change going to be coming? Is it coming to the forward core? Is it coming to the defensive core? I haven't actually decided that yet, so we got to get risky out here. Peyton Krebs, a second and first round pick, is going to be traded over to the Columbus Blue Jackets. We're not going to have many picks for the upcoming seasons, but we got to make a deal like this. Zach Benson, he's going to keep on getting better, a great young player. However, the only question we have with him, can he play on our second line? Because as of what we know from scouting him, we don't know if he's going to be able to fit there. But you know what? I'm willing to take that risk. Zach Benson, welcome to the team. Unfortunately, they're saying no to this deal, but I'm willing to give up almost every single pick we have. Here's a second rounder for 2028 as well. This is way too much to be given up in a deal like this, but you know what? We got to get Zach Benson on the team. So here's a third round pick as well. Hopefully that's going to be enough. Unfortunately, we're a bit off in value. We might have to trade a prospect away here. Now, he might not be a prospect, but I think that's the only way we get this deal done. Matt Waugh, I'm including you, and now we got Zach Benson. Now, although Zach Benson doesn't have a great line fit here, I know he's going to turn into a great player with that medium elite potential. He'll gain some X factors, and then that's going to make up for it. Now, after acquiring Zach Benson, of course, we have to give him an extension. We're doing 3.8 for the next 5 years. That's going to keep him on this team for the rest of the rebuild. So we had a strong finish to the season here. We're second in the entire league with a 52-23-7 record. The offense is still looking good, but the defense did certainly get better here. We're competing with the Boston Bruins for best in the entire league. On top of our great defensive season, Connor Bedard is going to be having a career year here. He's picking up 106 points, but more importantly, only 38 goals, because Ehlers is going to be the big goal scorer on this team. He's picking up 50. Can somebody explain to me how Ehlers is picking up more goals than Connor Bedard? Because honestly, it makes absolutely no sense. Meanwhile, Zach Benson, you're finishing with 44 points here. What'd you do since joining the team? 10 points in 19 games. You know what? That's a decent start to your career with us. Was I hoping for more? Of course I was, but you know what? You're going to develop into a great player, and I have faith in you. Jeremy Swayman, 44 wins here, 7 shots, a 913 to 261. This might be one of the best seasons you've ever had here, and if it's the best season you had, I'm expecting the best result possible. I mean, you did have a fantastic year here, but you know what? We didn't get the result we wanted. We want to get a different result this season. And enough talking about the playoffs, let's get into the playoffs. We got the Calgary Flames in the first round here. We know what this team's capable of doing, except when it comes to the Stanley Cup final. Then you really don't know what we're capable of. Okay, seriously, why are the Calgary Flames taking 2 games away from us? We might have a 3-2 lead in the series, but there's no reason Calgary should be taking 3 games against us. We're off to game 7. Now, you know what we have to do for this matchup against the Calgary Flames? It's a silent game 7. I'm done talking right here. Okay, I'm talking. We just allowed 3 goals in the first period. Yeah, this team's cooked. We allowed 7 goals in game 7. Ain't no way. I was going to stay silent, and then I saw this right here. 3 goals in the first period. We allowed 5 unanswered to start this game. Yeah, we didn't stand a chance. Now, when it comes to rebuilding this team, what do we actually do here? We were second in the entire league. Capo Caco had 10 points. I feel like you just have to ride out this core. Like, I believe we're a good team. We're clearly a good team based on what happens during the regular season. But what's it going to take for us to win in the postseason? I don't even know. We have the goaltender. We have the defense. We have the forward core. Shout to Detroit and shout to the Toronto Marlies. But what's it going to take for us to win? Because we haven't showed up when it mattered. Now, normally I would celebrate a medium-league potential goaltender, but we just lost in the playoffs in game 7. They were a 38 win team. So we're going to make a deal with the Florida Panthers, and that's going to allow us to pick up a good left wing prospect. He's a 2-way forward, and that's actually what we need for the bottom 6 right now, because a lot of the guys we do have here are going to be moving on. So we only have 2 players to give extensions to. The first is going to be Joel Hofer, $800K for the next 3 years to be our backup. No question about that. That's a fantastic deal. However, Faravari, we are going to be letting you walk here unless we can sign you for sub $4 million. 5.1 for an 83, it's just not worth it. So Capo Caco was a good addition to our team last season, so I wouldn't mind keeping him around long term here. We're going to be looking at 4.8 million for the next 5 years. That's pretty close to what he's getting paid right now, only 400K more. Zachary Bolduc, what's your extension going to be looking like? I don't really want to commit $5 million to a third line guy. I'm just going to be completely honest. So more than likely, we're just going to ride out your contract and trade you away. Kulich is probably going to be the same situation here. $3 million, we'll ride out your contract and trade you away. Lecker Mackey, what are you looking for? 2.4 million. We might be able to do a deal like that. But even still, you're a bottom 6 guy as well. I feel like that's just too much for you. When it comes to Lidstrom, look at him being incredibly reasonable here. 1.8 million for the next 3 years. That's why we love Gustav Lindstrom. A couple years ago, we brought Jack Roslovic to the team on a 1-year deal. We're going to be doing the exact same thing here. Here's 4.5 for next season, and we're just going to run it back with basically the exact same core. We won 50 plus games last season. Zach Benson's going to be even better. This team should be able to perform. So we are well aware that a team like this is going to be one of the best in the entire league. We're probably going to win 55 games this season. Zach Benson's going to be playing the entire season with the team. We brought in some of the young guys to play some bottom 6 minutes for us. Things are looking great for this team. I mean, O'Sullivan doesn't have the greatest line fit. He actually has a horrible line fit here, but you know what? We might do something like this. I'm not really too sure if I want O'Sullivan playing second pairing minutes. We're probably going to have him play on the third pairing, and we're just going to live with this -1 boost here. But the goaltending for Jeremy Swayman, that increase, he's picking up a few more X factors. We're all well aware of these things. The one thing we're also well aware of is the postseason is going to destroy us. No matter how good of a team we are, the Utah Silver Wolves will never win a Stanley Cup. I don't know what it is about this team, but we could finish first every single season, but we will still find a way to lose in the playoffs. With all that being said, it's time to flip the script here and win a Stanley Cup. Enough disappointing everyone. You've disappointed every single one of your fans. You've disappointed every single one of your enemies, because at that point they're cheering for you, and you've disappointed me, and that's worst of all. So we're going to simulate up to the trade deadline. More than likely acquire a defenseman here for the third pairing, and we're going to win. That's what the plan is. So the Utah Silver Wolves are going to be first in the entire league with 43 wins. We saw this coming. The best offense, but we also have the best defense in the entire league. I mean, that's not true. It's 4th in the entire league. But what's the difference between us and Montreal? 6 goals. That's basically the exact same thing. The difference between us and the Florida Panthers is 8 goals. So you could say we're right there with the best in the entire league. Connor Bedard's having another great season here. 68 points for Hagee, 66. Dylan Guenther, 66. He's turning out to be a really good pickup for us. Meanwhile, Capo Caco, 49 points so far, and we do have him locked down long term. This second line is going to turn out to be really good for us because Zach Benson, 47 points, but more importantly, they're plus 34, plus 31, and plus 29 right now. Last season, these guys did not have good plus minuses. Look at them now. And then to cap it all off, Jeremy Swayman's having a career year here. 38 wins, 5 shots, and 916 to 255. Keep up the great work. Now, seeing that our defense is as good as it is, do we actually have to make any trades here? Because if we make any trades, we could potentially make our team worse. Our bottom 6 could use a bit of help here, but you know what? Our team's absolutely fantastic right now. We don't really have any weaknesses. I think we just rock with what we have. Unless I can find somebody who's a high overall but also has low trade value that I don't think will do anything. Majapani, his is actually pretty low. He could be a decent bottom 6 guy for us. As long as he fits on the bottom 6, which he does, he can be a third line player for us. We're going to make this move. So we're going to have to give up a decent amount to get Majapani here. It's going to be a 2nd, 3rd, and 7th rounder. But you know what? If he can help us win a Stanley Cup, then it's worth it. Okay, we're not making any trades here. That's just tough. So I think this might be the best season in Utah Silverwolves history, as we're finishing first with 56 wins and 117 points. Might be the most we've ever had. We might have had a 120 point season a couple years ago, but I don't really remember. All I know is we have the best offense here, and we're tied for the 2nd best defense in the NHL right now, but none of this matters. As we know, our numbers can be absolutely incredible. Connor Bedard, you could have been scoring a goal per game. You have 91 points. Ehlers, you could have had 175 points. For Hagee, you could have had 195 assists. But when it comes to the postseason, I want to see you replicate those numbers. Jeremy Swayman, 50 wins. That's the most you've had so far. 7 shutouts and 914 to 255. I need you to go 16-0 in the postseason, and I need 16 shutouts from you. Apparently, the season isn't over yet. We got to simulate one more day here, but that doesn't matter. We're jumping into the playoffs immediately. Who are we going to be taking on in the first round? The 39-win Chicago Blackhawks. We're cooked. Are we going to be able to live up to our potential and beat a 39-win team? Of course we aren't. We're losing game 1. Luckily, we're going to be winning 3 straight games after that. Can we make it 4 straight? Yes, we can. But I got really nervous after that game 1 loss. So we were able to get past the Chicago Blackhawks, and we're going to move on to the second round. The Edmonton Oilers is going to be the next team we're taking on here. I want revenge. Edmonton took us out 2 years ago. Not only are we about to sweep this team, but we're shutting them out in all 4 games, and we're averaging 7 goals per game. So not only are we not shutting the Edmonton Oilers out in 4 straight games, but we're going to be losing 2 of these games, so we split the series with them. If we lose in the second round to the Edmonton Oilers, we're doing a massive rebuild with this team. Everyone's getting traded away. Connor Bedard, we're trading you first. Ain't no way we lose to the Edmonton Oilers here. We're going to game 7. If we lose to Edmonton, we're trading Connor Bedard for Connor McDavid. I don't care if Connor McDavid doesn't have a line fit with this team whatsoever. Connor Bedard straight up for Connor McDavid. It's going to happen. We're simulating the first period. Nothing's happening. We're waking up in the second period here. It looks like one of these rooks is going to be taking over. He's picking up 2 goals in this one, and we're luckily going to be winning this game. A shorthanded goal is going to be the winner. We should not have won this game, plain and simple. We deserve to lose. So that Edmonton Oilers series was much closer than it should have been, and Keandre Miller's saving the day for us. us. A short-handed goal turns out to be the game winner in Game 7. How often does that happen? But you know what? We can't reminisce too much on that goal because we got to move on here. And now we have the Colorado Avalanche up next. And if they were able to beat the St. Louis Blues, you already know they're a top team in the league. And it looks like when the games matter most here, we're actually going to be showing up for once. Are we taking the Colorado Avalanche out in 5 games? Yes, we are. 7 goals is more than enough. We're back in the Stanley Cup final. It's been a couple years, but it's time for this team to show up when it matters most. So it all comes down to this one final series against the New Jersey Devils. Can this team finally go ahead and win a Stanley Cup here? Of course we can't. We won the first game and we're losing a bunch of games after that. Are we going to force Game 7 here? Yes, we are. We were down 3-1 in the series. Game 7, Stanley Cup final. We got to finish off this comeback in Game 7 with 7 goals. So one game to decide the Stanley Cup here. Of course, we're going to be allowing 2 goals in the first period. Rasmus Anderson's picking up 1 in the second. We better make this comeback here. Zach Benson's going to be the hero. He's scoring a third period goal. It comes down to overtime. Next goal is going to be winning this one. Who's it going to be? Yeah. So we lost in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Once again, this has not happened once, but this has now happened twice. We have lost in the Stanley Cup 3 different times. That is something. That is truly something. So I'm not wasting my time at the draft here. We're packaging up our 3rd and 4th round pick and we're shipping it somewhere. Who's going to be taking these 2 right here? I don't really care which team. The Boston Bruins, or we get this medium elite potential goaltender. Well, I should do this deal. I'll always take a medium elite potential goaltender. So we're going to qualify our 3 RFAs here, but none of them are going to be coming back to the team. Kulich wants $5 million. Zachary Bolduc wants $4 million. Meanwhile, Jack Roslovic, this dude wants $6 million. $6.4 million for 85 overall Jack Roslovic. Yeah, that's just not happening. So we are going to give out 1 extension here. That's going to go to Loom. We're doing 2.7 for the next 3 years. That will keep him on this team for the rest of the rebuild. And that's probably going to be the only move we make here. I don't think we're going to be bringing Klim Kostin back unless we can do less than what he's asking for right now. So that's not going to happen. And then Lechner Mackey actually accepted the deal we did when we qualified him as an RFA, which isn't ideal for this team considering he's a 78 overall now. Yeah, so that trade hasn't really aged too well for us. All right, so this is the plan. Ehlers is about to start aging out here. He's dropped to an 86 overall, 33 years old. He only has a few good years left. And I can guarantee right now after this season, his trade value is going to completely fall off a cliff. So we might as well trade him while we can get some assets. So him and one of these medium elite potential goaltenders is going to be sent over to the Seattle Kraken, and we're looking to pick up Berkeley Catton here. Now, Berkeley Catton's going to be playing on the first line alongside Connor Bedard, so I'm expecting big things from him. I'm going to include a second rounder in this deal. Hopefully that's enough. Unfortunately, it's not going to be. However, there is an easier way to get this deal done, and it's going to happen with the other guy we're looking to trade here. And who is that guy going to be? Carter Verhaeghe, 33 years old. He's going to be declining pretty quick as well. I think we might be able to go 1-for-1 here. They're going to be saying no to a 1-for-1 trade, but we just have to include a 7th rounder in the deal. So Carter Verhaeghe, thank you for the big minutes you played on this team, but unfortunately your time has passed here. So you and a 7th rounder is off to the Seattle Kraken, and Berkeley Catton, welcome to the team. So Ehlers, we're still going to be trading you away, and you're actually off to the Nashville Predators. We're going to be picking up Luke Evangelista, a stick on the ice legend. He's an 87 overall with 2 X factors, and he can fit on the second line. That's where he's going to be playing. Because Capo Caco, you're going to be getting some first line minutes alongside Connor Bedard. Unfortunately, this package isn't enough, which is actually a bit surprising to me, but I think a 3rd rounder will be enough to get this deal done. Actually, let's start with a 2nd rounder and just make it simple on ourselves. So we're going to include that in the deal, and that's still not enough. Honestly, Nashville's bugging a little bit here. Here's the 3rd rounder as well. I didn't think it would take both of these draft picks, and I didn't think it was going to take more than this, but man, we are offering a lot here. Do I just make this simple and include a 1st round pick? I think that's just what we're going to do. So here's a 2030 1st round pick, and that should be enough for Luke Evangelista. Now, since we're not going to be bringing back Zachary Bolduc or Kulich, I'm going to package both of them up along with a 3rd round pick, and we're going to pick up Devin Donnell from the Detroit Red Wings. Now, he's an 80 overall sniper. He's already got an X factor, and he's under contract for the next 2 years, so that's going to make the salary cap situation on this team very easy. On top of making that deal, we have $13 million left, so we can make one signing. Now, before we get into this upcoming season, O'Sullivan, I'm going to be completely honest, I'm really disappointed in what your line fit is on this team, so we're going to trade you over to the San Jose Sharks and pick up Mui, and we're just going to hope that he has a better line fit. They're basically the exact same overall. I think Mui actually might be 1 overall higher, but we just want somebody with a better line fit. So I'm not even sure if you can classify the Utah Silverwolves as a successful franchise. We've made it to the Stanley Cup final 3 times, and we've only been in existence for 6 seasons, and I believe we've won the President's Trophy twice. However, even with all that success, we're yet to capture a Stanley Cup. The team's looking even better this season. Just look at this team. Wolski's going to be jumping into the lineup here, and if you don't know who Wolski is, he's the low elite potential player we traded for a couple years ago. I think we gave up a 3rd and 4th round pick for him. He's up to an 84 overall, and he's on his rookie deal. So yeah, that was an insane pickup for us, and that's working out. Defensively, picking up Mui was definitely the move here. He's up to an 83 overall. He's getting an X factor, but more importantly, we're getting a +1 boost on this line right here. And what I also decided to do is the first pairing is going to be Rasmus Andersson and Samuel Girard. Normally, I've been doing this, having Chernak play on that first line, but we got to change something up here. Rasmus Andersson, you do have a better line fit here on the second line, but we got to win some games here. This team has not been performing when it matters most. If we want a different result in the postseason, we got to try something new, and this is what we're going to be looking at. When it comes to the goaltending, I'm never swaying away from Jeremy Swayman. 87 overall. He has performed. There's no question about that. The regular season numbers, I have no issue with. Even his postseason numbers, I have no issue with what he's been doing here, except for this series right here. I have a problem with this one. But other than that, Jeremy Swayman has played good in the playoffs. But for some reason, when it comes to the Stanley Cup final, not only does he completely fall apart, but the entire team falls apart. We don't play defense. We don't score any goals. We do nothing when it matters most. That changes today. I mean, I've said that every single year. I always say heading into the season, that changes, and it never does change. We keep on bringing the same team back here, but we expect different results. But then again, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And we're always finishing at the top of the league, so that does prove that we are one of the best in the entire league. Why that doesn't translate to postseason wins, I have no clue. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. Moments like this in a rebuild, I can't even explain what's going on. You might be thinking, oh yeah, this team's top of the NHL once again. That is not the case. A 34-25-5 record. We're not the worst team in the entire league, but we're certainly not the best. I don't know what happened here. We have just completely fallen off a cliff. We're not even top 10 in the NHL right now. We're 11th. 11th with a 34-25-5 record. I don't even know what the issue here is. Like, obviously, the offense is still doing their thing, but the defense has not been nearly as good this season. And does that fall down to Jeremy Swayman just not playing great? I said at the beginning of the season, we're not going to sway away from Jeremy Swayman. And then he proceeded to put up a 903 and a 306. What do you have to say for yourself? Like, that's just disrespectful to me. Now, I will say, I did move Capo Caco up to the first line and Luke Evangelista down to the second. And ever since I made that move, we've won 6 straight games. So I feel like we shouldn't push the panic button here. We should just see what our roster does for the rest of the season. I don't want to make a trade here because right now we are not looking like a Stanley Cup contender. So should we be buyers? Probably not, but we're definitely not sellers. This team's in a very weird spot right now, and I don't even know what we can do to help us. I mean, Chandler Stevenson, I'll bring you in for 1 year at that price. Like, look at your trade value. That's incredibly low. We'll find a spot for you on this roster. So here's a 2nd round pick for Chandler Stevenson. Unfortunately, that's not going to be enough, but a 2nd and 7th rounder will be enough. So Chandler Stevenson, you're going to be the lone move we make here, and we're going to see if we can win a Stanley Cup with you. Is Chandler Stevenson really going to be the difference maker? Absolutely not, but it doesn't hurt our chances. I will highlight this move, though. A very interesting one. Devon Taves, a 4th and 5th round pick over to the Detroit Red Wings for Lucas Raymond. We'll see how that ages over the next couple years. And then Devon Taves is immediately traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets. All right then. Okay, what did this team do after the trade deadline? Like, all we did was basically just lose games. We lost games, and then we lost more games, and then we went on basically a stupid losing streak to finish the season out here. I think we went 1-9 in our final 10 games here. That is absurd. Now, we were even lucky to make the playoffs. We made it in as a wild card team. Luckily, the Calgary Flames aren't that great, and that's who we're taking on the first round here. But yeah, there is no reason that we should have been this bad of a team. Like, where did we finish? 16th in the entire league. 16th in the entire league, the Utah Silverwolves. I don't even know what to say. Our defense completely fell off a cliff here. Berkeley Catton, he's leading the way, 84 points. Chandler Stevenson, I mean, you were a decent enough pickup. Connor Bedard, you just did not record any points. I know we got rid of Verhaeghe and Ehlers, but we brought in Berkeley Catton. We can't really disrespect Berkeley Catton. He's an 88 overall, and he has a great line fit. We put Capo Caco on the first line. He has a perfect line fit, and he's an 85 overall. Now, yeah, he might not be an 88 like Carter Verhaeghe was, but he's got a perfect line fit here, and that should make the difference. Luke Evangelista was an upgrade on the second line over Capo Caco, but yet this team just did not perform. I'm scared to look at Jeremy Swayman's numbers. That ain't it. I don't even want to see those numbers ever again. We got the Calgary Flames in the first round, as I stated earlier. I don't know. Now that we're 16th in the entire league, maybe we can win a Stanley Cup, because this team's clearly better than what our record shows. Like, we were first in the entire league last season. Now here we are 1 year later, 16th. I will never understand the Utah Silverwolves taking down the Calgary Flames in a 5-game series. We're not doing this. Hold on. We're not doing this. We are not blowing a 3-0 series lead. Thank you. Thank you for not choking. So we went from playing a 45 win team in the first round to a 43 win team in the second. I don't know why the West is as weak as it is, but you know what? We gotta take advantage of it. And just when things are good, they go crashing down real fast. We're down 3-1 in this series. We're gonna shut them out in game number 5, but that's not really gonna mean too much unless we complete a 3-1 series comeback. That would be something. Are the Utah Silverwolves really gonna see their most success when they finish 16th in the entire league? This game is gonna be a big one for us. We're picking up the first 2 goals here, which is giving us a 2-0 lead entering the third period. We won this game after a late push from the Edmonton Oilers. We're off to the conference finals. 16th in the entire league, by the way. So we went from a 45 win team to a 43 win team. Obviously, the Colorado Avalanche are going to be a great team. We all know who's on that team. Nathan McKinnon's still there. Cale Makar's still there. A 42 win team is what we're taking on. The Colorado Avalanche only won 42 games during the regular season. Is the NHL just washed? Well, here we are, 1 game away from the Stanley Cup final after finishing 16th in the entire league. 16th in the entire league. And we're 4 games away from a Stanley Cup, but we've been in this position before. So for the 4th time in this video, we made it to the Stanley Cup final. The only difference is we're the underdog this time. Every single time in the postseason, up until this point, we've always been the favorite. We finished 16th in the entire league, and we're taking on the Boston Bruins for the Stanley Cup. 4 more wins is all I ask. So are the Utah Silverwolves really going to win a Stanley Cup after finishing... I honestly give up. Like, what are we actually doing here? 16th in the entire league. We lose in the Stanley Cup final in a sweep, get absolutely dominated. Connor Bedard, 22 points. Like, what are we actually doing? Hold on. What are we really doing here? This is absurd, honestly. 4 Stanley Cups. We've lost in Game 7 in 2 of them, and we've got swept in 2 of them. This team never wins. Jeremy Swayman, what did the numbers look like? They had to have been somewhat decent. A 909 and 280. I don't know what it is. For some reason, when we get to the Stanley Cup final, this team plays like absolute crap. Up until this point, Jeremy Swayman's been a decent enough goaltender for us. 2 goals allowed, 2 goals allowed, 2 goals allowed, 3 goals allowed here, 2 goals allowed, 2 allowed here, 2 allowed here, a shutout here. So he's been very good. The second we get to the Stanley Cup final, 2 goals allowed, you know what? We just didn't score enough. We move on to these next couple games though. 6 goals here, 5 goals here, 4 goals here, and we just did not score goals. In 2 of the games in this series, we scored 1 goal in each of them. Why did the offense just immediately stop scoring once we got to the Stanley Cup final? We just completed year 7 of the rebuild. We've made it to the Stanley Cup final 4 times. We're yet to hoist the Stanley Cup. We have 3 years left. We got to finish this video with at least 1. Now, so far the draft hasn't done us any solids, but we did get this medium top 4 potential defenseman, a 47 overall, but he's got trade value. So we're going to ship him out over to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we're bringing in Marshall. He's a 78 overall, and he can immediately jump into the lineup for this team. Unfortunately, we're not going to be getting the 5th rounder as well, but we are going to get a deal done. Now, in the re-sign phase, we're not going to bring any of these 3 guys back, and I'm not even going to qualify Lecker Mackey, because if I qualify him, I have to give him 1.1 million, and I know for a fact he'll accept that deal. I don't want to do 1.1 million for him. Now, this is going to be a big off season for the team because guys like Rasmus Anderson, Berkeley Catton, Keandre Miller, and Eric Chernak are all needing extensions, and I don't know if we're going to be able to bring all of them back. When it comes to goaltenders, Jeremy Swayman also needs an extension here. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of big changes coming. Now, we're going to start with Berkeley Catton here, and that's going to be 9.3 million for the next 3 years, and that's going to keep him on the team for the rest of the rebuild. Keandre Miller is another guy I want to keep on the team here, so we're going to do 5.5 for the next 3. Corrado's been a good 4th line guy for us, so why not keep him around? We're doing 2.2 for the next 2. And Jeremy Swayman, we haven't won a Stanley Cup with you yet, but you know what? We got to get one with you before the video ends here. I'm giving you 5.8 for the next 3 years. You're the goaltender that's going to hoist the Stanley Cup for this team. Now, I think the only 2 guys we're not going to be bringing back is Rasmus Anderson and Chernak, and I think there actually is a good chance that we trade both of these guys. They're both 33 years old. They're going to start declining. We might as well get rid of them while they have a bit of value. So I think this is going to be the trade we do with Rasmus Anderson. We're sending him over to the LA Kings, so we're going to be bringing in Brant Clark. He's on a great contract too, 6.1 million for the next 6 seasons. Of course, we're not going to need all 6 years, but he is going to be a great piece to the team here. I want to get some draft compensation in a deal like this as well. We're not going to get that 2nd rounder, but we are going to be getting that 3rd round pick alongside Brant Clark. And that's not going to be the only defenseman requiring. David Jiricek here also going to be joining this team. You're going to cost probably a little bit here, but a 2nd and 3rd rounder is going to be a decent start alongside Eric Chernak. We might as well not mess around here. I'm taking out 3rd rounder out, and I'm making that a 1st round pick for 2032. So I'm going to send that package over. They're saying no here. But you know what? 2 second rounders, a first, and Chernak might be enough for David Jiricek. I'm going to send that over. They're still saying no here. Why mess around? Let's do a 3-team trade. So this is what we're going to be looking at. Eric Chernak, a 4th and 7th rounder, over to the Red Wings. We're going to pick up a 2nd and 3rd round pick from them. Unfortunately, that's not enough here, so we're going to have to throw a 6th rounder in as well. But you know what? That's perfectly fine. We're getting 2 valuable picks here, and that's going to help us get Jiricek. Now, I don't think that 3 second round picks are going to be enough. I'm still going to offer it over, though. They're going to be saying no to this deal. We'll throw in that LA Kings 3rd round pick, and if we have to, we'll throw in that Detroit one as well. We might as well just do this package to start with. So Jiricek, are we going to be picking you up here? Yes, we are. We probably only had to do one of those 3rd rounders, but you know what? We got the guy we want. And trading for Jiricek was definitely the right move here because we're going to be getting him for under $6 million. We're doing 5.9. So we got $14 million in cap space, and that means we're going to make one move here. Troy Terry, welcome to the team. $13.5 million for 1 season. You're going to be playing on the first line alongside Connor Bedard. We have to win a Stanley Cup, and I think this is going to be the final piece of the puzzle. So we're going to have Troy Terry for this season and this season only. A +4 boost on the first line with Bedard, Berkeley Catton, and Troy Terry. The second line is going to be Gunther, Zach Benson, Capo Cackle. Then we're going to have the bottom 6 looking like this with Luke Evangelista playing on the 4th line. He doesn't really fit anywhere on this team. The 4th line is the best option for him. But hey, we're getting a +2 boost here. Maybe it's going to work out for the team. Defensively, this is the best we've ever looked. +4 boost on the first pairing and then a +1 boost on the next 2. We have an 87 overall Jiricek pairing up with 85 overall Keandre Miller. This team should be able to see a bit of success. And with Jeremy Swayman in between the pipes, we already know we're going to be a good regular season team. But I have to take that back after last season's disaster. I always talked about how we're going to be a great regular season team, but it just doesn't translate into the playoffs. That didn't even happen last season. We finished 16th in the entire league. We got incredibly lucky somehow making it into the playoffs, and then when we made it into the playoffs, made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final. And then it happened again. It just keeps on happening. We got to win. This team has to get 1 Stanley Cup in the next 3 years. We can't go 10 years being cupless. So from 16th in the entire league back to 2nd in the entire league, Utah's back here. The only team ahead of us, the Boston Bruins. That seems fitting. We have a better offense than this team. Our goaltending's tied with them. However, the goaltending on this team's still not looking that good, but I don't want to put all the blame on Jeremy Swayman. I should be saying the defense isn't looking good, because it's just not. 3 goals allowed is just unacceptable right now. Connor Bedard 62 points, Troy Terry 61, Berkeley Catton 59. I don't know what's happened over the past 2 seasons, but for some reason something changed with this team. Like Zach Benson, Dylan Gunther, and Capo Caco. A couple years ago, these guys were absolutely flying. Like, look at the plus minuses here. 3 years ago, +45. Last season, +7. What changed? We have the exact same coaching staff. We're basically running the exact same lines. The only difference, Carter Verhaeghe isn't here and Ehlers isn't here. But even still, we should still be a very competent team and we should be able to perform. I mean, Jeremy Swayman's numbers are still pretty good. 36 wins, 1 shutout, a 909 and 274. But still, I don't understand why the team's struggling as much as they are. With that being said, I don't even know what we do when it comes to making a move here. Because the forward core is basically set. I know exactly what we're doing. He's coming home. So Ehlers, I don't know where you're going to play on this team. All I know is you're somehow going to play on the first line. Okay, I guess we're just not going to get this deal done because there's no way we can get this done unless they retain money. But what if I give you 2 5th-round picks as well? If I overpay by a ton, can you retain the money? There we go. Ehlers is coming back. We're going to make this work. So Ehlers, welcome back to the team, and you're back playing first line minutes for us. You, Connor Bedard, and Troy Terry, and then Capo Caco, Berkeley Catton, and Dylan Gunther, you're going to hold it down the second line. So the Boston Bruins just keep on rubbing salt in the wound here. They're going to be ahead of us in the standings. Not only are they ahead of us, but so are the New York Islanders. We all finished with 52 wins. It just came down to the OT losses. We don't lose in overtime, we just lose in regulation. The offense is looking good. The defense is looking all right, I guess. I mean, 3 goals allowed per game is definitely not ideal here, but it does put us 5th in the entire league, so it could be a lot worse. Well, I guess tied for 5th because Toronto also had 3, but we're not counting Toronto if they missed the playoffs. Okay, what has happened to this team over the past 2 years? Connor Bedard, 81 points in 82 games. Our king is completely fallen off here. Jeremy Swayman, I mean, these are still good numbers, but I don't know what it's going to take for this team to win a Stanley Cup. The second things look good, we just completely fall off a cliff. It's happened time and time again here, and I fully expect it to happen once again here. We were just the best team in our conference, and you already know what that means, a first round exit. All right, so we all saw this one coming, splitting the series with the Vegas Golden Knights through the first 4 games. Game 5 is going to going to be a big one. Which team is going to be showing up here? Luckily, it's going to be the Utah Silver Wolves, but are we going to be able to continue that dominance? Another victory with us only allowing 1 goal. So far, the defense is looking good. It just needs to hold up for the rest of the postseason and mainly the Stanley Cup final. So we moved on to the second round here. We got the LA Kings up next. It doesn't matter what round we're in. It doesn't matter what team we're taking on. We got to take every matchup seriously here. Now, I'm happy to say when push came to shove, we actually showed up for once, sweeping the LA Kings, and that means we're off to the conference finals once again. Okay, we cannot fold in the conference finals here. The Boston Bruins are taking on the New Jersey Devils. We've lost to both of those teams in the Stanley Cup final, and we have a chance at getting revenge here. All we have to do is beat the Minnesota Wild, and we have a chance at revenge. Do not fold in the conference finals. I cannot state this any more than I have already. Well, it's starting to happen. The offense is just going to completely dry up. 7 goals in game 1, 7 goals in game 2, and now it completely falls apart. These next 4 games are going to be tough on us. What happened to the offense? Like, seriously, what just happened to our offense? We went 3 straight games scoring 6+ goals, a 6-2 victory, 7-0 here, 7-3, and then the offense dried up. 2 goals, 3 goals, 2 goals, 2 goals. You honestly can't make this up. How does this happen every single time? It didn't happen in the Stanley Cup final though. It happened in the conference finals. And then the Boston Bruins go on to win the Stanley Cup. What's it going to take for us to finally win? So after a disappointing exit, don't worry, we're going to be bringing in a fantastic prospect. No draft data. If you think future considerations has potential, you should see this guy right here. All right, so Troy Terry is going to be walking here. He didn't help us win a Stanley Cup. Donald, we're going to be qualifying as an RFA. And then Joel Hofer, I would like to keep you on this team. We can do 2 years at $1.2 million. As long as you accept this deal and you don't want more minutes elsewhere, Joel Hofer is going to be returning for the final 2 years. All right, so when it comes to extensions that we have to give out to a couple of these guys, I think we're just going to be riding their contracts out. Mui wants $6 million. We can't do that for a third pairing guy. Donald, as we know, wants $5 million. Wolski, what do you want? 5.1. We just can't do that. Lidstrom, do you want to sign a reasonable deal here? 2.6 million is not the end of the world, but I think we could get a cheaper replacement. So I was not under the impression that Nikola Ehlers was given an extension, so we actually have him on the team here. But you know what? We're not going to keep him on the team. There's no place for Ehlers on this team. Although he has been a great player, we got to move on from him. He's going to start declining, and I'm not convinced at 35 years old, he's going to be an 87 for the rest of this rebuild. So we're going to ship him over to the New York Rangers, and ideally we can pick up 2 second-round picks here. We are going to have to give up one of our own picks here. That's probably going to be a third rounder, but as long as we can get these 2 second rounders, then I'm going to be happy. Unfortunately, a third rounder is not going to be enough. Hopefully a 6th added into this deal will be. They're still saying no. What's going to take to get those 2 second round picks? Those second round picks have a bit of value, so a deal like this is actually going to work out for us because we're about to flip those 2 seconds. So one of those second round picks from the Rangers is going to be packaged up alongside Donald. We're going to send that over to the Dallas Stars, and we're going to pick up Wyatt Johnston for the bottom 6. Now, I was thinking this was going to be a massive offseason for us because we're going to have to trade a lot of the guys away that are on expiring deals. That's not actually the case. Luke Evangelista, you've dropped down to the 4th line. I'm not paying a 4th line guy $5 million. So I'm going to send you over to the Calgary Flames. That's giving us more cap space. And then all of the guys we have on expiring contracts, we're just going to give extensions. So Mui, you're going to be returning next season. That's going to be at $5.7 million. Wolski, we're also going to be able to keep you on this team. We're going to be doing 4.6 for next season. And then to cap it off with our final deal, Lidstrom, I'll give you 2.5 for next season. So we're going to be rocking the same team for the next 2 years. We got to win 1 Stanley Cup with this core. However, we do have $15 million to work with here. So that means we can sign 1 guy in free agency. I'm not too sure who it's going to be, but we definitely need to add somebody to this team. And you know what? Rasmus Anderson, why not run it back for 1 final season? We're going to do $12 million for this upcoming year. So the first contract extension we gave Mui, he's going to be saying no to, but we'll just do 6.5 to keep it simple. So here's the team we're going to be rocking for the final 2 years. Now you might see a couple of the guys here and you might have questions. We have an 81 overall in the first line, a 78 overall here, and then a 78 overall here. The one thing you do have to remember about these guys, they're all incredibly young. Fortin, he's 21 years old. Marshall, I believe he's like 19 years old. Yeah, he's 19 years old right now. And then Corrado's only 22, so he's going to get better by playing alongside Connor Bedard and Berkeley Catton. This team right here is going to win games during the regular season. We all know that. Look at the defense here. It's absolutely spectacular. The lowest overall being an 84. The fact that our lowest overall player is an 84, that tells you a lot about our defense. While the goaltending, we have Jeremy Swayman. He's dropped to an 84. We ride or die with Jeremy Swayman. I don't care if he's a 79 overall next season. We are riding and dying with Jeremy Swayman. We are riding and dying with this team. This is the team that I believe is going to hoist the Stanley Cup. I also do want to mention, as I'm recording this video, Elliot Friedman just tweeted that the Arizona Coyotes are off to Utah. So yeah, that's a tough look. Alright, before I take a look at this team, we got to make one move at the trade deadline, and I want that to be Sharon Govich. Now that I've acquired Sharangovich and gave up way too much, we can look at how the team's doing. I just want to make sure that man did not get traded while I was looking at the standings here, because things of course are looking good for us. We're first in the entire league, a 39-16-8 record. The offense isn't too bad here, while the defense could be better. When it comes to the scoring, obviously Connor Bedard's going to be leading the way here, but the fact that this man hasn't had a big goal scoring season kind of annoys me a little bit. Like, it's Connor Bedard, we know the guy can score goals. Dylan Guenther 57 points, Berkeley Catton 55, Zach Benson, he's got 54 here, while Jeremy Swayman, we ride or die with the Swayman. So we have 2 more chances to win a Stanley Cup. The Utah Silverwolves are third with a 49-24-9 record. The offense is pretty solid, 3.85 goals per game, while the defense has not been looking good the past couple seasons. 3.2, we might have to improve that over the offseason. Then again, I do want to run the exact same team for the next 2 years, so we're going to see what happens. Connor Bedard 85 points, Berkeley Catton 75, Sharangovich is picking up 68, but what did he do since joining the team? Hopefully he was looking all right. 15 points in 19 games, I can't complain about that. While Jeremy Swayman, these numbers, this ain't it. But you know what? You're Jeremy Swayman and we believe in you. I don't know why I believe in Jeremy Swayman so much. Like, real talk, we have not won a Stanley Cup yet. We're in the second last season of this rebuild, but for some reason, I'm going to ride or die with this team. We got the Edmonton Oilers in the first round. This could really go either way. So we have 1 season left in the rebuild to win a Stanley Cup, because we're not going to be winning this series right here. We're not making a 3-1 series comeback. I already know this. We're going to drop game 6. Why does this team give me hope? We've been down 3-1 multiple times now, but for some reason, we always find a way to come back in the series. So here we go. Can we win game 7 here? Are we just going to get completely blown out? We're going to get completely blown out because we're not going to show up in the second period. We lost 6-3. After a scoreless first period, we're losing 6-3, and that's going to include a Leon Draisaitl hat trick. So we have 1 more year to win a Stanley Cup. Utah, things aren't looking good for you. Now, I guess it wouldn't hurt if I looked at the stats for our team, but you know what? I really don't want to look at these. Connor Bedard, where are you? 3 points in 7 games. You gotta be kidding me. Like, we can't win with that. Jeremy Swayman, these aren't even that bad numbers. A 919, a 274. I mean, they're not Stanley Cup numbers, but you should definitely be able to go the first round with numbers like these. Connor Bedard really put up 3 points and only had 1 goal. Like, the big time players aren't making big time plays. That's what's holding us back. Alright, now we did have 1 pick in this draft, but I sent it over to the Carolina Hurricanes or Calgary Flames. I don't really remember. We got a future 5th round pick. 1 final year to win a Stanley Cup. We have 1 last chance here. I just don't think it's going to happen. This Utah team has had so many opportunities to win, and they've chosen not to. So the re-sign phase means absolutely nothing to me. Every single player here is going to walk. The only guy I'm qualifying as an RFA is Neil, because he has medium league potential as a goaltender. So I said I was going to ride out the exact same team for the next 2 years, but plans have changed. Timo Meier at 50% retained. I don't care how old you are at this point. You're 35 years old, but you still have a superstar X factor, and you're an 89 overall. I'm hoping you can produce for 1 more season. A first and second rounder is going to be shipped over. They're saying no to that. I guess we're doing 2 second rounders here, but we don't actually have that. So here's some 4th round picks. Hopefully that's enough to make the difference here. They're still saying no to this deal. They don't want to retain money, but I guarantee you if I give you another 3rd round pick, you're going to speak differently. They're still saying no to this deal. We're going to find a way to get this done. So I threw in our medium league potential goaltender and a 3rd round pick, and I think this will be enough from the New Jersey Devils. They're still saying no to this. We might have to do 2 first round picks. I don't want to do 2 first rounders, but we got to get this deal done somehow. So if we drop that down to $2.9 million retained, they're still saying no to that. You got to retain a bit of the money because we can't get this done unless you do. So retain 1.9 million. There we go. We got this deal done. Timo Meier, welcome to the team. That's going to be the only move we make. So here we go. The last dance with the Utah Silverwolves. Connor Bedard, Timo Meier, Berkeley Catton on the first line, Dylan Guenther, Zach Benson, Capo Caco. The bottom 6 is looking pretty solid here. A +1 boost on both lines. We already know what this team's about. Defensively, we're actually in a better spot. Samuel Jordan Clark are getting a +5 boost. Jared Check and Keandre Miller are getting a +3, while Mui and Lindstrom are going to be getting a +1. And to finish it all off, we already know the Swayman's in between the pipes. Joel Hofer's backing him up. This is our final chance at winning a Stanley Cup. Jeremy Swayman, I believe in you. I don't care that you've dropped to an 83 overall. We have seen you perform in the postseason up until the Stanley Cup final, then that's when everything completely falls apart. But I have seen you perform in the postseason. The good first round appearances you've had, I want to see that in the Stanley Cup final. We're going to sim right to the end of the season here. This team has 0 cap space. We're not going to be able to make a move. The roster we have right here is the roster that's going to be hoisting a Stanley Cup. Yeah, we're winning our division here, and yeah, we're first in the entire league with 51 wins, but I do have one main issue with this team. How did Dylan Guenther lead us in scoring? Like, respectfully, Dylan Guenther, 80 points, a great season from you. But that means Connor Bedard has less points than you, and he has 79. Connor Bedard, you might go down as the greatest disappointment of all time. You had a couple good seasons here like a couple 100-point campaigns, but man, these last 5 years, you have not been that guy. Plain and simple, you have underperformed. While Jeremy Swayman's back here, 42 wins, 6 shouts, a 907 and a 280, one fantastic Stanley Cup run. I need this team to do the impossible and win a Stanley Cup. We have been to 4 Stanley Cup finals in this video, and we're yet to hold the cup once. That's about to change. And if we're winning the Stanley Cup, no breaks. We're simulating the postseason. We're never going to check in on the playoff picture. We're just going to keep on simulating games. We have a 3-1 series lead here, and that means we're going to be closing this series out. We're moving on to the second round. We're just going to simulate a couple days here to figure out who our next matchup is going to be against. It's probably going to be the Colorado Avalanche or something. Never mind, it's the LA Kings. We're taking them on next. I believe LA took us out in the postseason last year. I actually don't remember. I repressed that memory because we don't want to talk about what happened last season. And we're not talking about what's happening this season. Our final chance to win a Stanley Cup, and we lost to the LA Kings. Thank you for watching this video. Yeah, comment disappointment. That's all I gotta say. Comment disappointment.